Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Advance. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment. I want to give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we're going to have a fun show, something a little bit different. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, this is a topic I'm going to have a lot of fun talking about because we rarely, if ever, have talked about sports this way. So this is something that I think we're going to have a lot of fun doing. Now, as you guys know, Vlad has a very, very big platform. Last time I checked, Vlad is averaging anywhere between 50 to 60 million views a month on his channel. Vlad gets a hell of a lot of views, right? And it's one of the reasons he's able to get these big names to come on his platform, because they know that they're going to get a lot of exposure. So, Vlad has that in his, in his arsenal. But Vlad also has a reputation that some people don't like, which is they feel like he asks questions that basically Vlad is an instigator, right? Basically, he's an instigator, and he instigates a lot of things because he knows it's going to be a nice clip, and therefore he's going to make a lot of money. But then on the back end of that, it causes friction and tension between the people that he's talking about, right? And he just kind of seems to escape through from it all. This is the reality of Vlad's show. I think if you ask Vlad and he was being honest with you, he would admit that that's part of the beast. He would have to admit that. There's no way he would say, oh, I'm not aware of the possibility if I ask this particular person about that particular person that they have an issue with, that it could possibly cause some tension. There's no way he would say, oh, I can't see how that could happen. That would be simply disingenuous. So recently he was interviewing Gilbert Arenas. And Gilbert Arenas seems to be doing this kind of perennial visit where he goes on Vladtv at least once or twice a year to talk about sports and a bunch of other things in pop culture, right? So they were there. And then this morning I came across really an article from, I believe it was Fadeaway World, where they were basically highlighting a conversation between Vlad and Gilbert Arenas. And essentially what was happening was Vlad asked Gilbert Arenas to give his take on what Jalen Rose had to say. Imagine on what Jalen Rose had to say about the comments that Phil Jackson made. And Vlad actually reads or reiterates the comments that Phil Jackson made around the Black Lives Matter. This was around the Orlando bubble when teams were protesting. You had guys wearing different slogans on the back of their jerseys. So what we want to do is we want to play this clip for you guys. And I want you guys to listen to Vlad asking Gilbert Arenas a question. I want you guys to listen to what Gilbert Arenas had to say. So take a listen to this clip here.
I mean, what are your thoughts about Phil Jackson? He said that after the whole Black Lives Matter thing, that he stopped watching the NBA. He just didn't like all the social justice imaging and everything else like that in the games. And, Jalen Rose called him out on it. Did you have an issue with that?
I didn't even hear it.
No? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, so this is what Phil Jackson said. This is why he said he stopped watching NBA games. He said they went into the lockout year and they did something that was kind of wonky. They did a bubble down in Orlando, and the teams that could qualify went down there and stayed down there. And they had these things on their backs like justice. I made a little funny thing like justice went to the basket and equal opportunity just knocked him down. So my grandkids thought that was pretty funny to play up those names. So I couldn't watch that. And he said he basically stopped watching NBA games after that.
Okay, was that... Wait. So the players had different things on their jersey?
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. Jalen Rose commented on it. He said, "You can't make this up. Hall of Fame coach, 11-time champion. Phil Jackson claims to have stopped supporting the NBA because he became too political when it went into the bubble and was catering to certain audiences by putting slogans on the back of jerseys of Black Lives Matter on the floor." He said the same Phil Jackson won a championship with some of the greatest black athletes in the history of the game. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant made millions on their backs and off their sweat equity. You're sitting there watching the game with your grandkids and y'all think it's funny when justice passes the ball to equal opportunity. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. So he says, so stop watching forever. That's what Jalen said.
Forever?
That's what Jalen said. Yeah. To Phil Jackson. Or about Phil Jackson.
So something like that, what is the context from Phil, right? I mean, it's real, like, what is the real? I mean, we can all say, oh, that's but what is the real context? Are you mad that, politics is coming into the sport?
That's what he's saying.
Right?
That's what I think he's saying.
Yeah, so that's what I said. It all matters. It all really matters because it's easily to say, all right, Phil, was it because of black people? Is it Black Lives Matter? Or just as a hooper, you're mad that
It says justice or equal
No, but
opportunity.
I'm just saying,
on the
are
back
you
of some
mad that
shirts.
they're just politics, that the game is about politics and, is it that stance, right? You know what I mean? And that's why sometimes I ignore certain, because if I don't have the full context, like for you to be, racist to me, you have to, it has to be real racism, right? The Indo-Outdos and I think and guess, right? Like just give it to me flat out. And then, we keep it that way. Don't like make the comments and I'm like, was that racist or, how should I feel? It's like, if you don't like fat chicks, just say you don't like fat chicks, right? Don't be like, well, kind of big, how big? I don't want all that, right? So when it comes to like stuff like that, I just leave it alone. Let me hear the real context. What is the problem? Is it a problem that it's Black Lives Matter and this is a Black social, situation? Or is it just you don't think politics should be put inside of a sport, right? That's two different things. Like the message is giving me both. So which one is it?
So you heard what was said. Here are my thoughts. And I'm going to have a lot of fun. We may offend some people, but that's not really important because the key here is to be honest and give people your opinion. If you're getting offended, really, really offended, then it means that you're part of the problem. But anyway, so let's get into this here. Politics in sports is a very, very interesting thing. There's a school of people out there that believe that sports and politics should be separated, right? Sports is kind of viewed as a escape from reality. You go there to watch, sporting events, to enjoy yourself and forget about all of the issues that life has, right? And then some people say there's another school of thought that says, no, there are a lot of influential people that participate in sports, and whenever a societal issue arises, it's becoming upon them to use their platforms to speak about whatever issue is taking place at at that moment in time, right? So these are the two schools of thought. Now let's kind of backtrack. Around that George Floyd situation, we all saw it. I think it was the first time we can actually say that there was a global uproar about one particular issue. And at the time I was in London because I wasn't feeling well, so I was visiting some family. And we were watching it from London, right? And we were just seeing how like people were protesting. I think at one point people started protesting in the United Kingdom. It was a really, 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 really like massive kind of movement based on what happened with the incident between George Floyd and the police officer. Good. So what happened? In the midst of all of that, the NBA, which seems to be a very political league, which seems to have a particular political leaning, if we're being honest about it, one would say that the NBA they lean towards the left. I think it's safe to say that. Some would say maybe the NFL they lean towards the right. I don't know. I don't follow the NFL closely enough to be able to make that statement. Anyway, so the NBA was out there, and what they decided to do was they decided that it would be best for the players to make a statement by, I think, kneeling. If I remember properly, they were kneeling on the court. And then I think that you can now pick the slogan on the back of your jersey, which is exactly what Phil Jackson was alluding to. Now, Phil Jackson said something very important. He said, apart from the joke that he made, which some people may view as distasteful, he said that kind of turned him off because it was being too because it was becoming too political. Now, to Gilbert Arenas' point, he said something. Wait a minute. I want to know the full nuance of this question that you're asking me. Don't just ask me it on his face and expect me to give you an answer, right? And then some people can accuse Vlad that, well, they assume Gilbert Arenas is going to say a particular thing, maybe because he's black, so therefore you're going to say a particular. I don't know what it was, but Gilbert Arenas said, no, I want to know the context. And he brought up a good point, which was this. There are a few things to take into account. Number one, there was the incident that took place. Number two, there was the act of protesting. Number three, there was the conduit or the vehicle in which these guys were using to protest, which is what? Black Lives Matter, which we now know is a political organization that has come under heavy criticism for the governors of it, or whatever, the governors of that corporation, or whatever you want to call it, misappropriating funds. Right? Misappropriating funds for their personal lives, buying homes and all of that stuff. So Black Lives Matter is taking a real hit from public relations standpoint, which is they were basically using money to do X, Y, and Z things, right? These are the allegations that have been put out there about them. This is not what I'm saying. That's what they're saying. Now, So Gilbert is asking the question: was Phil? Did he have a right to be against Black Lives Matter? Well, here's the thing: to be against Black Lives Matter, you don't have to be white. Let me repeat it once more. To be against Black Lives Matter, you don't have to be white. There are white people that I've heard on YouTube that dislike Black Lives Matter. There are black people that I've heard that dislike Black Lives Matter. But then there are also white people that like Black Lives Matter, and there are white people and there are black people that also like it, which simply means this: there's no correct way to answer the question. And number two, if somebody says, I don't like seeing this type of protesting during sporting events, I believe it's their right to hold that position that they feel. Just like I feel is the right of the person that says, no, I feel that it should be done. I think the moment we get into trouble is where we start saying, if you disagree with me, then you're a you-know-what. And that's essentially what Jalen Rose said. Because Jalen Rose is saying, if you don't see things the way I see them, then essentially you need to piss off. Understand that. Gilbert Arenas is saying, no. Let me listen to all sides. Number two, he said, can I get something that's a little bit more explicit? Because if we're parsing through Phil Jackson's words, we now have to make inferences. Well, is he being racist? Is that racist? Do we know? And Gilbert Arenas is saying, I would like something that's a little bit clear, more overt. Like, okay, this guy did this guy said this. Okay, he is racist. So we know for sure. Essentially, what Gilbert was doing was he was disarming Vlad's question. Because what Vlad was asking was a loaded question. It was a loaded question. Now, to give you guys my opinion on it, and I will give you my opinion, I don't like politics. If one were to describe me, I guess you would call me a centrist. Now, a centrist, I'm not sure what it means, but I'm somebody that listens to issues from both sides of the aisle. And I say, okay, there's some things that Republicans do that I agree with. There's some things that Democrats do that I agree with, and vice versa. There are things that both parties do that I disagree with. I listen to all things. I'm not just like, okay, I'm this or I'm that. Now, there's some people that are far right, far left, whatever you want to call it. That's their prerogative. I'm not here to, I'm not here to shame them. I'm just saying that I listen to both sides of an issue. And I think both parties at various times have something to say. That's my position on it. Some people say, oh, no, you need to say that, whatever. That's your opinion, right? I think where we get into trouble is where we start saying this guy needs to have my opinion. And that's essentially what Jalen Rose is saying. Well, if you don't like it, then you need to stop watching. But that's a radical position to take because he doesn't have to like it. He doesn't have to like it. He doesn't have to feel the way you feel. And you don't have to feel the way he feels about anything. Everyone has a right to feel how they want to feel. So I think that Gilbert Arenas did a very good job disarming that question. And I think it was a good kind of a good topic for us to broach on this channel because, as you guys know, I hate talking about politics. I really, really do. But I understand that we have some viewers that are on both sides of the aisle and they have their own political leanings. And I wanted to kind of delve into this topic. So what I want to know from you guys is simply this. What do you think about the position that I took on this particular topic? Do you agree with me? If so, let me know why. Do you disagree with me? If so, let me know why. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments. We'll catch you on the next show.